Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. This afternoon, International Monetary Fund, IMF, and Government of Ghana reached staff-level agreement on economic policy measures and structural reforms under the country's ongoing 3-year extended credit facility program. We'll bring you details of that. Also coming up, mixed reactions greet proposed plan by Mayor of Kumasi, Richard Ofori-Boadi, who is threatening to flog traders who disregard bylaws of the assembly in the conduct of their business. And much later, joint drone operation by personnel of Ghana Armed Forces and Forestry Commission in Subri Forest Reserve of Western Region leads to destruction of makeshift structures used by illegal miners. Very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, Ghana and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, have reached a staff-level agreement on the fourth review of their 36-month economic credit facility supported program. Upon approval, Ghana will receive $370 million, bringing the total disbursement to $2.355 billion since May 2023. The staff-level agreement is subject to executive board consideration. The fund, in a communique, said growth in 2024 was higher than expected, underpinned by strong mining and construction activity. However, fiscal discipline weakened ahead of elections, causing inflation overshoot and delayed reforms. Noble Crosby Annan is my colleague. He has a copy of that communique. He joins us live in studio. Noble, what more can you tell us?
Well, essentially what it is saying is that growth in 2024 was higher than expected and, like you mentioned, underpinned by strong mining and construction activity. Notwithstanding these achievements, overall performance under the IMF supported program, it deteriorated markedly at the end of 2024. Now, preliminary fiscal data point to slippages in the run-up to the 2024 general elections on account of a large accumulation of payables. Inflation exceeded program targets. Several reforms and policy actions were delayed across the fiscal, financial and energy sectors. And that's according to Stefan Rode, the IMF chief mission for Ghana. Now, it also added that against this backdrop, the new authorities have taken bold measures to address policy slippages and ensure the program objectives remain within reach. To address these slippages, the authorities have enacted a 2025 budget that targets a 1.5% of GDP primary surplus and adopted several public financial management reforms. The latter includes an enhanced fiscal responsibility framework and new rules to tighten expenditure commitments. Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Noble Crosby. And with our communique from the International Monetary Fund, let's get a quick thought from Professor Patrick Esuming on this. He is an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. Good afternoon to you, Prof. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the listeners. Thanks for having me.
Let me first find out from you what the staff-level agreement mean for us at this time.
So it means that after the review, after the government team and the IMF team review the data and the progress, they have agreed that we are making enough progress. So the staff-level agreement is the first stage before you send it to the board for approval before disbursement. So it means that based on the discussion with the government team, the IMF staff team that visited are satisfied with what the discussions and the progress that has been made, as well as the corrective actions. So they are happy with that, and that will eventually go to the IMF board.
Indeed, but if you look at the communique that they issued, which my colleague Noble Crosby Annan read to us, yes, the fund acknowledged strong growth in 2024, but was worried about fiscal slippages by the end of 2024. That shouldn't be surprising to you because it was an election year, isn't it?
No, it wasn't surprising to me. I think, by the third quarter of the year, the numbers that we are seeing at that time still said the government was keeping to the agreed targets. But, we always know I think it's only once in the Fourth Republic did we not mess up our fiscal indicators in an election year. So regardless of the promises, you always knew that this was always likely to happen. I think it's just the extent of it. I think from a target of a surplus of 1.5 on the primary balance to a deficit of 3.5 is quite high. But I cannot say I was surprised.
The extent of it, you say, what kind of long-term repercussions do you expect as a result of our failure to ensure we stuck within budget?
Well, the current government has decided to take a wide swing at it. So it decided to recover and bring us back to the target within one budget cycle. In fact, it's less than one budget cycle. That is a 9-month budget that is the start. But what it means is that we are going to take more painful cuts. That's exactly what the current finance minister is trying to implement. So there is going to be heavy tightening to ensure that we bring us back on track for the program and then kind of restore the confidence of the IMF board. I'm sure that the IMF staff would have been impressed to see that we are quickly trying to take corrective measures. That's probably why we've been able to reach a staff level agreement that quickly.
Indeed, having said that, I know you talk about perhaps we should expect some painful cuts, but we know what happened with the DDEP. People still didn't forgive the previous government for it. How do you think this current government can manage it properly so the pain is not as bad as a lot of people expressed when the DDEP happened?
I think it's just a new government. It has a little more honeymoon period left, and it appears that it's using that to make the hard decisions. You would have heard that there's also utility tariff upward adjustment coming up. So I think the government is kind of using its goodwill to try and push through all the hard things that have to be done. And you get the sense that as long as Ghanaians are convinced that this will eventually bring us will bring good results, we kind of tolerate it. But we can only tolerate it for so long. If you don't begin to see results after a year or so, I'm sure the public sentiment will soar again.
We'll end it here. Thank you very much. Professor Patrick Assuming. He is with the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, the Kumasi Metropolitan Chief Executive Richard Ofori-Boadi Ajiman, popularly known as King Zuba, has issued a stern warning to traders who flout regulations by operating in unauthorized spaces. The mayor emphasized that his bodyguard would not hesitate to take firm actions against such persons. This comes ahead of a major decongestion exercise scheduled for Adum on Wednesday, April 16. That should be tomorrow, aimed at restoring order and sanitizing the bustling commercial hub. We'll be speaking to our correspondent very shortly, but listen to what the mayor said.
There's something we are going to do, and that is where I need your support. As for me, I don't like reporting too many things to the police. I don't want a situation whereby we'll put in place a police team, we'll go arrest people, and then they go to the police station and they find their own means and they are back on the street. That would be a waste of time and resources for me. So I have my own democratic military style, which I'll be implementing. When we say leave this space, and you don't leave this space, and I get there, if I'm alone, you'll be lucky. But if I'm there, and my 10 boys are in their pickup with me, with their hips, trust me, we'll beat you. If you don't want to experience that kind of situation, do that which is right and which is lawful. This is Otumfuo City. This is the Asantehene City. This is the Garden City of West Africa. We have to preserve its image. And I am here to work to satisfy the city for Otumfuo. And I want to ensure that this city looks like Otumfuo City. And when we talk to you, and we implore on you to adhere to that which we all do, and we can all have peace, and you want to let the job become difficult for me, I will let your body feel the difficulty that you are giving to me. So when it gets to that period, please don't sit on your radio station and say that Akwawe or Basa or Bahat or training and all those things. Please, it is all aimed at making sure that one, we have a disciplined city, we have a sanitized city, and we have the kind of Kumasi that we have. If you
And you heard that the Kumasi Mayor Richard Ofori Buadia Jiman Ibrahim Abubakar joins us live from the Ashanti region. Ibrahim, if you can hear us, quite some strong words coming from the new mayor. I'm just wondering how residents are responding to these comments.
Well, Beatrice, a very, very strong word indeed. But apparently because successive mayors have not been able to successfully decongest the central business district, or I would say they failed in their attempt to make sure that the CBD is quite smooth when you are there to conduct your trading activity. Because we've seen series of decongestion exercise, yet we always come back to square one. Now, he just didn't directly say they will begin to lash people. They gave out plans. They said, like you said, tomorrow they will begin with the sensitization and education. So from tomorrow, they will be out there to tell people to move out from the median of the road and even the shoulders of the road. And those who have to adjust themselves will be educated. Then on May 1, that's when the decongestion will start. So he said after the education, after telling you to move, seizing your things, and you keep coming back, then they will be left with no choice than to be physical with you. In fact, very, very strong-worded, but you speak to people, you realize that it's mixed reaction, while some are in support of whatever decision the mayor is taking, others to say it is too harsh. But for others, they believe whatever the traders are also doing there is illegal. So if the mayor is also doing something which is illegal to correct the wrong, then he is at no fault, because they've tried the way of convincing people to move out, yet they keep coming. So for them, they believe that if persuasion fails, then we must apply for it. But for others too, they believe the bylaws are there, the court is there, so we just have to be democratic enough, follow the due laws, and make sure that whoever flouts the law is arrested or prosecuted according to the law.
Quite interesting perspectives on this message from the mayor. But Ibrahim, let's stay with you a bit longer, because we know that tensions are rising in the Ashanti region as supporters of some aspiring metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives threaten violence if their preferred candidates are not selected. Already, reports of vandalism targeting party properties have emerged in Kumewu and Asante Mampong, following disagreements over nominations. Well, the Ashanti Regional Minister also, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, has issued a stern warning against anyone hiding behind party affiliations to disrupt peace and destroy public property. Ibrahim, aside from the Kumasi Mayor, which we just talked about, the president is also yet to nominate MMDCEs for the remaining 42 assemblies in the region. What are people saying about the delay so far?
Well, obviously people are not happy with the delay, because they believe that it is stalling development in the area, even though we do know that the coordinating directors are currently acting, but they have a limit to what they can do in terms of decision making. So just as the president has nominated other MMDCs in other regions, they are hoping that hopefully by next week those names should be out, so that it will even prevent some of these grievances, because as we speak, apart from the mayor, no name is out yet. We see people going out in the name of supporting one candidate or the other and causing mayhem. And they believe when the names are out, then we will be able to prevent these incidents. Like you said, it is a growing concern, because we have issue of Kumewu, Asawasi, Efija Kwabre, and Mampo. And in all these areas, we've seen supporters of one candidate or the other issuing threats saying that if their preferred candidates are not named, then they will go ahead and even burn some public properties. This is where the regional minister, who is the head of security in the region, is also coming in. He said that they will not shield anyone who is arrested in destroying any public property. And they all have to respect whoever the president nominates to occupy any other position, since the president knows what is best for the people. Let's listen to what Dr. Franka Mwakwene has been telling me.
We'll be hearing from Dr. Franka Mwakwene, but let's hear the resident first, and I'll come back to you very briefly for us to wrap up our conversation, Ibrahim.
People are trying to chastise the mayor. You shouldn't go, it's unlawful. But let's ask ourselves, what we traders are doing by taking over the median of the road, by taking over the asphalted road that is meant for lorries to pass through, is it lawful? Nobody has told us traders that when we are trading, move away. For me, I've listened to the audio of the new mayor. He gave chronology of events, right from move away within 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you don't move away. You come back in the evening and come and take your things away. If you come back again, you come and move them away. Then, at the extreme end, it brings in the lashing issue. That's the extreme end. The fact of the matter is that we shouldn't push the mayor into that corner. I'm a trader. I find it so uncomfortable, for instance, moving from Kietia to Hello FM to Boss FM. Terrible. It's simple and short. What is wrong is wrong. Let's not push him to also go and do another wrong thing to correct what is wrong. We shouldn't even get there. The city is so choked. The fact that we traders we are corporate. Let's move away from that point. If we move away, then we can go back to the table and ask, okay, we've not moved. Can you prepare a place for us? Can you prepare the race course road for us to move in there?
And you heard there some residents of Kumasi. Let's listen to the Ashanti Regional Minister also speaking on these developments and, of course, the MMDC's issue, and then wrap up that conversation with Ibrahim Abubakar.
You cannot take the laws into your own hands and do things and expect that you have a cover or a shield from us as leaders. No, because any riot whatsoever goes definitely and directly at the president. The president will make the appointments, and we would work with the appointments that the president make. No one will be allowed to force our hands to choose someone else for the president. The president will make the appointment. We are expecting it soon. We only call for calm and call for support for whoever the president names, so that we will be able to, as it were, move the country forward. I have put the security on red alert, and I have told each and every one, whoever is a party member, that don't go and misbehave and shield or hide behind any party colors. And I've also picked information that others are mobilizing to support aggrieved candidates. Some people want to cry more than they believed, and just clad themselves in party paraphernalia and go out there and misbehave as though they are aggrieved party supporters.
And you had the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Franka Mwakwene. Let's wrap up our conversation with Ibrahim Abubakar very quickly. Ibrahim, we heard the resident and we also just heard the minister there. What's the atmosphere currently like?
For now, very, very calm. But like he said, they have already talked to people, and the police, as at yesterday, has even taken some action, because for people or those that Fijakwabe who even threatened to burn the district assembly if their preferred candidate is not chosen, the police has even invited them, and this has kind of calmed the tension. So for now, everybody has been asked to be calm. When the names come and your preferred candidate is even not there, you just have to give that person the support to develop your area and Ashanti as whole.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's Ashanti regional correspondent. Well, he says calm is returning to that part of the country, but it doesn't seem that's the situation in the northern region, because we are learning that there's tension and also some chaotic scenes are unfolding at the Yendi Community Center as internal party security assumes full control of the confirmation center amidst heightened tensions. There still has to do with the MMDCEs, and we do have Christopher Marco is our man monitoring this for us. Chris, what can you tell us?
Yes, so Beatrice, I can say that since yesterday when the confirmation processes for Northern and Savannah region began, the process has been peaceful until today when that of Yendi turned chaotic earlier, but the situation has been brought under control by the security personnel who have the President's nominee is expected to be confirmed today by the assembly members. But while the process was ongoing, some supporters of the party, who are believed to be party security, stormed the place to cause some scene. But right now, as we speak, the situation has been brought under control.
Brought under control, but are you able to tell us the genesis of it? Why did they feel it was necessary to take over? At which point?
Okay, so they just stormed the premises and marched towards the entrance, demanding to get access to the inner perimeter of the community center, but they were denied access. As it stands, there hasn't been any clear communication as to what led to why they came there to cause confusion. All we do know is that they were denied access to the inner perimeter and the scene was brought up.
Thank you so much, Christopher Mwako. He's our Northern Region correspondent, and we say a bit longer on this because, again, some NDC supporters in Tema East in the Greater Accra region are urging President John Mahama to prioritize competence and experience in the appointment of the Chief Executive Officer for the Tema Metropolitan Assembly instead of ethnic considerations. The call follows agitations for the MCE position to be given to the indigent from the area. At a news conference by concerned non-indigenes of Tema, the group warned against stampeding President Mahama in the appointment of a chief executive officer.
The attempt by some indigenes who want to stampede President Mahama by stoking tribal sentiments threatens the peace and security of the Tema region. We are willing to join forces to demand competence as far as the appointment of who becomes the MCE of Tema is concerned. Love and passion should put all of us on the same pedestal and not tribal sentiments. We are appealing to the president to go by the vetting results and the reports by the BNI, now NIB, and Musa Dankwa of Info Analytics. Our utmost concern is for the NDC to succeed and also to strengthen the bond between the indigenes and the non-indigenes in Tema. And for that matter, we demand experience and competence of who becomes the mayor of Tema. We are, by this press conference, calling on the leadership of the party to investigate and deal with those behind some indigenes and stoking tribal sentiments in Tema. Denying a non-indigenous person who is qualified to become the mayor of Tema based on tribal would be completely unfair and would weaken the base of the party.
And you had there a representative speaking at a news conference, a representative of concerned non-indigenes of Tema. Some 23 minutes past the hour of 12. This is still the midday news on 3FM 92.7. Now, a joint team from the Forestry Commission in the Western Region and the Ghana Armed Forces stormed Abriwankrang, a notorious Galamsey enclave within the Subri Forest Reserve. Now, during the raid, the task force set ablaze makeshift camps belonging to the illegal miners, mostly foreign nationals who had been mercilessly plundering the forest reserve. The operation is part of ongoing efforts to protect the Subri Forest Reserve from further destruction. In recent months, the reserve has become a hotspot for illegal mining, leaving hundreds of hectares of vegetation destroyed. And hopefully we should be speaking to our correspondent, but let's hear a representative from the task force speaking to journalists earlier.
The Forestry Commission in the Western Region have been embarking on series of raids in the Subri Forest Reserve. If you take this year, within the first quarter of this year, 3 raids have been done in the Forest Reserve, with some arrests being made at other raids where they don't get any arrest. The illegal miners do abscond. According to sources within the task force, it was through a covert surveillance and community tip-off and drone imagery that exposing unusual land activity that led the task force to identify that Abriwankrang as a major illegal mining hub. This community is rightly across the Subri Forest Reserve, and it will surprise you to know that the number of foreign nationals outnumbers the number of Ghanaians natives in the community. People from Nigeria, Niger, Guinea have come to pitch camp in this small community, and one will wonder what will attract someone to travel a journey from a far distance to Ghana just to stay or reside in a very remote village like Auneni in Crime, if not to do Galamsey. With that aside, the place is also a fast growing into a hub for nefarious activities like child trafficking and child prostitution, and also the sale of illicit drug. This intelligence painted a clear picture that Brunei crime is growing, has become a nerve center of a well-organized illegal mining syndicate. Hence, the raid which led to the discovery and the banning of Chamfines water pumping machines, and also the touching of shelters to compel these foreigners or illegal miners to move from site. For the Forestry Commission in the region, they are very poised on flashing out and halting activities of illegal mining in the Subri Forest Reserve. So I've been speaking with Nana Kwabena Bosompe, who is the Western Region Forestry Manager. He has been issuing a stern warning to all illegal miners to vacate their site before the team storms up with them.
The caution, and I'll use your medium to sound a caution. Notice is here by itself. I want all the miners to get out of this community, get out of the forest reserves, get out of our rivers. If you do so, we'll live in peace. But if you refuse and you want to mine illegally in the forest, it's just a matter of time. Enjoy your 50 minutes of fame. The long arms of the law will catch up with you, and that's exactly what we have seen today. Notice is here by itself. Get out of our forest. Get out of our river bodies. If you want to mine, do so legally, and we'll have no issues with you.
And you had there a representative of that joint team from the Forestry Commission in the Western region and the Ghana Armed Forces, which stormed Abriwan Krang, a notorious Galamsey enclave within the Subri Forest Reserve. And in that report by our Western Regional Correspondent, Stephen Kojo. Now, Member of Cabinet and Minister of Communications and Digital Technology, Sam George, has disagreed with the government's decision to amend portions of the controversial LI 2462 instead of an outright repeal of the law. The legislation, which allows mining in the country's forest reserve, has stoked public debate and become one of the rallying issues that became one of the issues that led to the Eswal administration being voted out of power during the 2024 December general elections. Having promised to revoke the legislation, the Mahama administration is now opting for a repeal of some portions instead of an outright revocation. But Sam George, who was vocal in the campaign period, says he believes the activity of Galamsey must be tackled with all seriousness. He spoke to Accra-based Channel 1.
Why did this government choose not to repeal LI 2462, which gives the right for people to be mining forest reserves? Looking at the level of opposition to that, to say that you are only removing the president's power to sort of veto the minister, that's quite, limited.
I hold the personal view that the whole LI should be repealed. That's my personal view.
Would you advocate for that in Parliament?
Absolutely.
But the matter was debated. I didn't hear you.
Unfortunately, I wasn't in Parliament on the day.
Where were you?
I was serving the country at another function.
Okay. Well, sometimes I need to put it on record. So let me hear you clear. You're saying that your personal view is that LI 2462 should go in its entirety.
It should go in its entirety. It should be repealed in its entirety. Because Wonderful. Look, I still hold the personal view that Galamsey is a crime against humanity.
Wonderful.
And irrespective of which political party is in government, whether it is the NDC or the NPP, and irrespective of who it is that's engaged in Galamsey, it is illegal and must be dealt with holistically.
And you heard the Member of Cabinet and Minister of Communications and Digital Technology, Sam George, in that interview with Accra-based Channel 1 TV earlier. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com for more news.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel.
Obudu coming up, Ghana secures IMF staff level agreement for fourth review despite fiscal slippages. And Ghana Revenue Authority Workers Union proposes informal sector classification for better revenue collection. And later in the bulletin, Ghana Chamber of Mines expresses concern over rejection of Goldfields Damang mine lease renewal application, stressing that it would erode investor confidence. Details of these stories and more coming up shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. Government and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, have reached a staff-level agreement on a set of economic policies and reforms, paving the way for the conclusion of the fourth review under the 36-month extended credit facility supported program. The agreement is contingent upon approval by the IMF's executive board. Upon successful completion of the review, Ghana will gain access to approximately $370 million, bringing the total IMF financial support disbursed under the arrangement since May 2023 to equivalent of $2.355 billion. This News Desk report has the details. In a statement, the IMF acknowledged that Ghana's economic growth in 2024 surpassed expectations driven by robust activity in the mining and construction sectors. The external sector also witnessed significant improvement fueled by strong exports, particularly of gold and to a lesser extent oil, alongside increased remittances. This positive performance led to international reserves accumulation exceeding program targets. However, the fund also pointed out a marked deterioration in overall program performance towards the end of 2024. Preliminary fiscal data revealed slippages attributed to a substantial accumulation of payables in the lead-up to the 2024 general elections. Inflation also exceeded program targets, and several reforms and policy actions across the fiscal, financial, and energy sectors experienced delays. Against this backdrop, the IMF noted that the new administration has taken decisive steps to address these policy slippages and ensure the program's objectives remain achievable. On the fiscal front, the government has initiated an audit of the outstanding payables to accurately assess their size and nature. Preliminary estimates indicates that the primary balance recorded a deficit of approximately 3.2% of gross domestic product, a significant deviation from the targeted surplus of 0.5% of GDP. To rectify these slippages, the IMF highlighted the government's enactment of the 2025 budget, which aimed for a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP and the adoption of several public financial management reforms, including an enhanced fiscal responsibility framework and stricter rules for expenditure commitments. During their mission to Ghana last week, the IMF staff engaged with authorities on their comprehensive structural reform program with a focus on enhancing governance and transparency and strengthening the management of state-owned enterprises in the gold, cocoa, and energy sectors. Now, that was a 3 Business News Desk report on Ghana securing IMF staff level agreement for 4th review despite fiscal slippages. Meanwhile, financial economist Dr. Beatrice Adu says any money coming to the country will help in stabilizing the economy.
The staff level arrangement between the government of Ghana and IMF to unlock a possible 370 million is a welcoming news, especially at this time. Every dollar coming into the country matters a lot. And to be able to tap into 370 million will support our foreign exchange activities. Although we know that it is pending a board level agreement, but as the tradition has been, usually if the staff level agreement is reached, the board level will not be so much of a difficult thing to cross. But what is refreshing to me is the fact that this government has been able to continue what was started by the previous administration, and there is a seamless transition. And that goes to reinforce that governance is continuous. And to be able to manage the relationship between Ghana and IMF in terms of the ECF facility is good. And it sent a good and positive signal to the investment community.
Dr. Beatrice Adu is a financial economist with the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Now, away from that, following a significant period of depreciation, the Ghanaian cedi is showing signs of stabilizing against the US dollar, fueled by positive developments in commodity markets, though concerns remain. This report has the details.
The cedi experienced a dramatic fall from late 2022, plummeting roughly a third of its previous value. The currency's decline continued through 2024, depreciating by a substantial 28% against the dollar. This instability followed a period of relative exchange rate stability in the late 2010s and early 2020s, largely sustained by heavy borrowing through annual $3 billion Eurobond issuance. With favorable conditions in Ghana's key international commodity export market, the cedi, after an initial 5.36% depreciation against the dollar in the first quarter of 2025, has since shown marginal appreciation at the start of April, narrowing the year-to-date fall to under 3%. Despite the recent stability, the fact that Ghana remains excluded from the international capital market in 2025 continues to fuel some nervousness among local economic players and international direct investors regarding the future direction and magnitude of the cedi-dollar exchange fluctuations. The legacy of heavy borrowing and the subsequent currency collapse serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities of the Ghanaian economy to external shocks and fiscal management.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, Chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority Workers Union, Theophilus Kwesi Ihun, has suggested renaming and classifying the informal sector of Ghana's economy into distinct segments. This classification, he believes, will enable the Ghana Revenue Authority to develop targeted strategies to boost revenue collection from the sector. He made the call at the GRAWU 11th National Executive Council meeting in Accra, themed "Our Excellence, Our Pride, Repositioning Labour to Sustain the Achievements of GRA."
Our operation as tax officers, both at the port and then the domestic revenue, you observe that persons that are referred to as informal sectors are dealing in transactions exceeding millions of cedis and even in hard currencies in dollars. If a person is able to go to China and import goods, if a person is able to go to the bank and take loan, how can we call such a person an informal sector player? So that is why we are having that call, that let us actually break it down into segments. If you are dealing with Abosoka and spare part dealers, let us handle them as such. If you are moving to Swami and Kumasi to deal with the spare part dealers, for them to come in, let us have them in segments. I think in the wisdom of science, when we want to study creations and animals, it is called a taxonomy or a nomenclature. Names are given to them and they are focused and then we study. I think as a country, we should begin to depart from the names of informal sector, maybe refer to them as a mass sector economy or the backbone economy of the country, and then begin to penetrate.
So that was Theophilus Kwesi Ehun. He is the chairman of the Ghana Revenue Authority Workers Union. Before we leave you, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has expressed concern over the rejection of Goldfield Daman Mines lease renewal. According to the chamber, it recognizes the government's prerogative in the granting of renewal of mining licenses, which are critical to the sustainability and responsible development of Ghana's mineral resources. However, it believes that the decision would significantly impact the mining industry by dwindling investor confidence and overall economic growth of the nation. The chamber further stated that it remains committed to working closely with the government, regulatory bodies and stakeholders to foster a conducive environment for responsible and sustainable mining practices that benefit both the good people of Ghana and investors in the sector. It urged all parties to prioritize dialogue and collaboration to resolve this matter swiftly and effectively, thereby safeguarding Ghana's enviable position as an investment destination of choice on the continent. And on that note, that'll be all for today's edition of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, please visit our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Urban Blend and Black Russell on standby. Stay tuned.